Hello and welcome to another video review for The Wind in the Willows. So it's still summer, late summer now, so we're heading into the range of, obviously, late summer episodes. So the first one being the grand annual show. This is by many considered to be an absolute classic because it was on the Summer Escapades video back in the 80s, and then of course re-released a couple of times. There's one very rare release of that as well, picture I'll put up. Yeah, so it's always sort of been there, it's always been available. It's, to be totally honest, it's not one of my absolute favourites. I think partly because I didn't grow up with that video, I didn't have that video. And also, I don't know, it's just, I think it's great, it's got some great moments. But I think just that when you've got episodes with human characters in it, it just kind of, I don't know, it spoils it for me a little bit. It spoils that sort of magic that it has. But anyway, we'll go into it as we start it now. But like I say, there's many things I do love about it as well. So let's get into it. I'm just going to press play right now. Okay, so the grand annual show. So this is a Brian Truman script from series 1, and directed by Chris Taylor. We haven't had a Chris Taylor episode for a while. He was so important to the series development. He, of course, was the animation director for the feature film. And so out of all the directors, you could argue that he knew it the most. He really knew the characters, the setting, everything inside out. And of course, he became the associate producer later on in the series. Animator-wise, we've actually got 3 animators on this. We've got Chris's usual team of Marge Graham and Andrea Lord, and also Paul Berry. So this is one of the first episodes that Paul Berry worked on. And he was new, obviously, to the company, and he proved to be a bit of an animation genius, really. He just had so much talent, and his talent absolutely progressed. And if you look at the later episodes he worked on, the way he captured Toad, as I've said before, impeccable. So, as the narrator says here, it's late summer. You can feel that harvest is starting. It's on its way. There's the excitement of harvest. It's you can see all the berries and everything. As he says there, so it's the time of gathering in starts now. So all the episodes that follow this that I've selected, apart from the next one I'm doing, which is Hall for Sale, they've got kind of a sort of a harvesty feel to them, and then as we get into autumn, obviously there's quite a few harvest type episodes. So part of the charm of this episode is that all the characters have quite a nice bit of character development. They all have a chance to shine. There's this, as you'll see in a moment, this grand annual show happening, and it's a competition where anyone can kind of enter some produce or something, you know, connected with the harvest, be it vegetables or fruit or preserves, you know, anything that you can put together. And as Mole's saying there, it would be wonderful to win, but of course then you never win. So a bit of a montage. So we go from Mole now to Toad. Now it's interesting this, you hear the door shut and post is delivered and left for Toad, suggesting he has a servant or servants. Now that's not the first time he suggested, but we never ever see them. We never see any servants, which I quite like. You know, I think it would spoil it somehow seeing the servants. Part of me thinks that Toad doesn't need servants really. I know he's got that grand house, but it's just a bit odd. A bit of an odd kind of, you know, suggestion there. And then of course we go to Badger. We've got Billy Rabbit here, although not really christened Billy Rabbit at this point. It's just a rabbit, generic rabbit, but of course we know him as Billy. So already, you know, we see this character development in each of them, and then when we finish on Ratty's the one actually reading the letter so that we can hear it. And he's of course revealing that there's this grand annual show. But if you think about that character development, we've got Mole, who's kind of excited he'd love to win, then he admits to himself, oh, I never would though. You know, very humble. And we've got Toad sleeping in bed or oversleeping. Acts very arrogant already in bed. Badger grumbling that he's, you know, oh, but it's what it says, you know, being the usual kind of negative self. And then Ratty, the optimist, very excited by the letter. So all of them have this kind of nice bit of contrast between them, really.
Now look what I've done.
And then, of course, we go back to Mole End. It's got a nice structure to it. Making jams. You can see we've got the lovely music of Mole's theme in the background. There's a nice pull focus coming up here. There we go, as we go to Ratty. Really nicely done that.
What are you up to? Oh, Ratty, why did I ever think I could? But what, old fella?
So I mentioned just now, it's not one of my absolute favourites, and I've said it, of course, partly because I didn't have the video, but also, I think I do love some of the episodes from Series 1. I really do think there's some wonderful episodes there. This just isn't one of my favourites. I just think there's something about it that feels like it is scripted, if that makes sense. I know all of them obviously are, but it's almost as if the actors are reading a script. I don't know what it is about it. And I was aware of the story before I'd seen the episode. There were some storybooks released, published, I should say. And I've read that, and I was kind of excited at seeing the episode. When I finally saw the episode, I thought, it's okay. You know, it's not overly funny. I think that's part of it as well. You know, it doesn't make me laugh out loud. It brings out quite a nasty side in Toad. You know, he cheats, as he does in many episodes, but this is particularly selfish and arrogant. And like I say, when we see the humans later on, it's just something not so believable about it. You know, I know there's humans and other characters, but we'll see when we get to those scenes. But it's overall, it's got a nice feel to it. There's some nice scenes here. It's a nice little scene. Ratty and Mole. It's nice to see the three of them before we get to Toad. You know. And deep down, I mean, the story, if anyone's read the storybook, it actually reveals quite a bit about the characters that's not necessarily obvious in the episode. We've got to kind of work it out, but it deep down, all of these characters really want to win this cup. And that little wink that Ratty takes there is a suggestion that, we know Badger really wants to win it, even though Badger's saying, I suppose I should support a local event. But of course they would all love to win, as would Toad, but Toad does everything he can to ensure that he does win, unlike the other characters. So they've already sussed out that Toad's likely to kind of cheat or do something wrong. Number 3 chemistry stuff. Now this I've always admired, this prop. I'd love to know how this was made. I mean, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I don't know if that's actually glass or whether it's plastic, but what incredible prop that is for it to be made in such detail. The sheer size of that as well. I mean, the table would have been very, very long, you know. All those jars, all those bits of glass. I assume it is glass. You've got the liquids actually working through it, so all animated. I don't know if some of it was live, so probably it would have been pumped and shot in live action, some of those shots. So anyone watching who worked on it? Don't know if there is anyone, but I would love to know what was done. Another thing about this episode is, like a lot of the first episodes, they have this kind of, some people hinted at a creepy feel to it. Partly because the animation of Toad here is quite busy, overdone, you could say. But of course, it was an early episode. They were still getting the feel for the characters. So when you compare to the later episodes, the animation's a little messier in the first one. Not to undermine the work of the animators, they still did superb work. You see the way the eyes are moving and the lips and everything.
Am I to understand that you believe you have as good as won the best of show of all?
So now they're kind of already understanding what Toad's up to here. He's so arrogant, he's so kind of full of himself.
And for what have you as good as won?
What's nice though is it's got the classic feel as well. When you look at the 4 characters here, they're all actually wearing what I would say, their iconic costumes. Mole with his red cardigan there, Ratty in his blue jumper, Badger with his yellow check scarf and brown overcoat, and thankfully most of these costumes exist in the archive. And it's the costumes that you see. I mean, you can see the board going behind me. It's those exact costumes there, that photograph, and it's so, to me, that's so iconic. Of course, in later episodes, new costumes were developed, and they wear different looks. I want to update it, brighten it up a bit. The music, by the way, in the background is called Snakes and Ladders. Kind of a jolly piece. Now, Mole, this is interesting. So we see this in quite a few episodes where Badger and Ratty, or usually Badger first, is always the one to kind of dismiss Toad, say, oh, I've had enough of this, I'm going. Ratty then follows, Mole then eventually follows. It's always in that order. And again, it's character development. You know, as I've said before, Mole, out of all of them, is possibly the most loyal to Toad, or the most kind of inquisitive and excited about developments in technology or the latest thing. I love this sequence with these shots of all the chemistry going a bit wrong, the lighting effects and flashes of light. Very quickly cut as well. And do you see that explosion there? It's almost like a Danger Mouse kind of explosion. I bet they just used the frame or two of Danger Mouse drawings there, which of course was being made at the same time, so it makes sense. Now, when I see a costume ruined like that, I actually wonder if it is actually ruined or whether it can be put in the wash and sorted out. Again, I'm not sure. I don't know how that was done. I don't know if they I doubt they would have made a whole other costume just to ruin it. I mean, look at all the stains on that. You'd like to think that it was just washed and fine and used again. A little bit like when they do the snowy winter episodes, which we'll get to eventually, of course. And they dress the set in snow. You'd like to think that it's not. So here we have another montage of all the characters. I love the weasels there, even the way they've put the tablecloth that is all just scruffy. But then you see all these beautifully presented entries for the show. And they do look very smart. I mean, they're very beautifully made, these props. And the music we can hear now is a track called Village March. And it has got that feel of like the community coming together this episode. And there are other community episodes, like Mayday, for instance. I love Mayday though. I adore it. It's one of my absolute favourites. This just isn't. Yeah, it's hard to kind of justify why. I'm sorry if anyone watching, if you love this episode. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's not one that I choose to watch often.
Nothing special, really. I come every year.
And maybe it is because it's got this, it's kind of repetitive in a sense. You always have this montage thing, so this is another montage, you see all the characters. And what we're doing now is building up to Toad. So Badger, Ratty, Mole, almost doesn't matter which order that they are in at this stage. And then of course we finish on Toad. I mean already his setup looks very grand, doesn't it? Just having wine and the silver bucket there, ice bucket. And look at the year, really interesting, 1909. I think that's a wonderful, little bit of detail there, because of course the book was written in 1908, so I guess Cosgrove Hall felt, well, if the book was written in 1908, we assume it was set in 1908, they set their film in 1908, Series 1 is a year later, almost. So they thought, let's stick with that, it's 1909. So if you go by that, Series 2 is 1910, Series 3 1911, and so on. So it's kind of nice. It's almost like the following summer, isn't it, after the events of the film kind of finished. So here we have the human characters. Now, I think it's just these scenes, I've never warmed to them. It's just... And I think part of it isn't believable because these characters appeared in the film and they even got the same names. They're voiced by different actors. We haven't got Beryl Reid as the magistrate there. Reggie isn't Jonathan Cecil as he was in the film. I think that's Brian Truman listening to it. He sounds like Brian Truman. for me. So in the film, you know, Toad stole the car of these characters, and then he was put into prison. He went to court and put into prison by the magistrate, and then suddenly they're almost like friends, and it's not, to me that's not very believable. And then of course we have Burglary at Toad Hall, which I reviewed a while back. Yeah, there's just something not very believable about that, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. You know. I guess on one hand you could say, oh, it's kind of nice that those events are forgotten now, everyone's got an understanding. That shot was nice, the way the light just caught the pin. I don't know if that was just accidental when they shot it. And I wish the Weasels were in this more. I think that's another thing. There's so little of them. And what there is quite funny. But
I wonder if our bikes is all right.
so she fell with our bikes as well. And this is a classic setup. I think it's kind of the first time that happens where the henchman puts his foot in it and he gets his foot kicked. But it's so much funnier in later episodes. The timing isn't quite right in these ones. If you think of Lord Toad that I reviewed a while back, when he said, oh, it looks to me, and then the chief kicks him, and the timing is impeccable, and it's extremely funny the way it's done. In this, it's a bit slow, and as I said before, the animation is a bit busy. When you've got characters moving so much like this, it actually kills it a bit. Ratty and Mole, I think, are nicely handled in this episode, but just some of the other episodes, I guess it depends on the animators, but again, they're all great animators. It's just maybe I've got a sense that Paul Berry was maybe doing Toad in these shots. It just got that feel to it. It just looks like his work. So already at that point, he was able to achieve these very clear poses. And like here, where he holds a pose and you've got the lips moving, and then he goes to the next pose, like there, where his eyes look at the bottle and he realises and drops down. So it's all those details that actually make it more or less cluttered. And then we read it more, understand it more, relate to it more, and enjoy it more. If that makes sense. So that to me is a different Toad to the Toad we saw at Toad Hall when he's showing off his chemistry set to the others. So I assume it's a different animator. So that's why I think it is Paul Berry, because out of everyone in this team, apart from Barry, you know, Barry and Paul absolutely mastered Toad. Barry was the original Toad, and Paul developed his own kind of Toad outfit, and both of them equally fantastic versions of Toad. I think anyone else who animated Toad, with all due respect, possibly couldn't quite get it as well as those other two could. And Toad, of course, arguably is the central character.
You are just in time to receive the award, Paul.
So it's nice to see this. I like seeing this after seeing it in the book. You see this huge marrow. It just looks real, doesn't it? It looks just like a real marrow.
Well done, young'uns. Put us all in our places. And a good thing, too.
I like that line that Ratty has there, put us all in our places, and it's almost like, right, we've accepted it. None of us have won, but it's fine, it's the taking part that matters. And if only Toad would realise that, you know, it's just having a nice time, a nice day with everybody. It doesn't matter who wins, you know, it's just... someone's got to win, but it's like... there's Toad, you know, it's just... You realise he's being a bit of an idiot, but this is nice to see, you know, when you see the side of Toad, you know that he's deep down, he's not that nasty, he's just... And the others are trying to talk to him like you would a child again, it always comes over you, you know. And then of course Badger lists all the adjectives that, that describe Toad. Now, there's as my old father used to say, a speech here. There he goes, so... Fair booty makes many a thief. There's so many of these phrases, I want to kind of collect them in a book, The Badger's Guide to Life. There's a lot of wonderful quotes. And I think Brian Truman developed them, I don't think there was a Rosemary and Sisson script with one of those phrases, so it's kind of a nice touch that Brian put into it. Look at how well dressed they are here as well, look at their summer clothes here. Always liked Mole's
Yes, it's a
green
miracle,
jacket.
sire. Wait till next year.
So we've seen this in many episodes. We've got the Otoad
I'll give 'em vegetable
and Toad saying, "Oh, come and look at what else I've got, my cauliflower." So, do you know, I take it back in many ways. Looking at it again now, I realise it is a lovely episode, isn't it? It's a wonderful kind of ensemble episode. You've got a lot of characters there. Yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to find reasons for why it's not one of my favourites, and yeah, I can't think of anything else other than what I've said. It's just, it is what it is, you know. It's kind of, I prefer overall the episodes that have more comedy in them, have a bit more substance, I guess. This is kind of a jolly, simple script, I guess. And sometimes when you have got so many characters, it does get a bit crowded, I guess. I sometimes like it when it's just the 4 main characters in it, or the 4 plus the weasels or the big rabbit or Nerd. There's just a lot going on in this one, I guess. And this idea that there's this village near the riverbank and the wildwood, we don't see that much of the village, or very little of it, and then you see these characters that kind of come out of that village. So the human characters here interacting with the animals, and I don't know, it's just this juxtaposition that, as I've said before, was present in the book, of course, so it directly comes from the book. And as Barry alluded to in one of the comments recently, you know, blame Kenneth Graham for this thing of how you get the scale with the humans. You know, when I did Further Adventures of Toad last week, you had the bargewoman and Toad, and it is odd when you look at it, you think, that's really odd. Is Toad a toad, or is he a human? He's kind of somewhere in between, but on one hand that's got a certain charm, on the other it simply looks odd. But how else would you deal with that scale, you know? Cosgrove Hall just did it the best way they could. If you had giant humans, you know, the size of a real total human, it would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So, but then do you just do away with humans completely? That's kind of going against the charm and the world of The Wind and the Willows. And that's, again, why many illustrators struggle with it. But I think that it is an interesting example, I guess, of that episode of how you deal with that. And it's just bringing the humans in as humans. And it's almost suggesting that all the characters are humans, and just some of them have these animal masks. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on it. It is an interesting one. So there we go. Thank you for watching the Grand Annual Show. So next week, as I've said, we are looking at Hall for Sale. I love that one. That's from Series 4, directed by Francis Willows, and it was from that Lord Toad video. And I just loved that video when I got that. I loved every episode on there, watching it over and over again. And Hall for Sale is it's got some really interesting scenes in it, really great character development. So we won't talk about that now. I'll save that for next week. Also got another bonus one next week as well. So please do join me for those, and enjoy this last month of summer. Very sad. We're into August already, but it's still lovely weather mostly at the moment. It's here anyway. Okay, so all the best. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next week. Cheerio then.